In the early spring, the author of this documentary, Denis Stein, met a couple of swans at the lake. They were building their nest, and he came up with an idea to make a movie showing the process from the start, from an egg to an adult swan. The female laid 5 eggs, but later, 4 chicks came into the world. The swans built the nest at the edge of a swamp lake. The female left the nest for a while in order to taste duckweed and other water plants. Meanwhile, the male was protecting the nest. The author named the place home. The family had offspring, 3 white chicks and a dark one, which was named Blackie by the author. Swan babies have got a funny peculiarity. They like riding on their mom's back where they feel warm and safe. The movie director says, "When I saw such positive moments, I rejoiced like a child." Both mom and dad participate in defending and bringing up babies. A married couple is made up once and until death, until one of the spouses has passed away. When chicks have grown enough, the former nest becomes narrow, and the male starts building a new one at the turn of the lake. The author named this place Cottage. The family was inseparable. They were close together no matter what they did, and where they rested, either at home or in the cottage. In the fall, the author was getting ready to record the moment where the young swans were to take wing. The first flight must have been special. It shows a swan is absolutely ready to be solo, but the author couldn't even imagine that he would see swans alive for the last time. Next, when he arrived at the lake, he saw only Blackie and an adult swan. The man got nervous, as lately he had noticed hunters in the area. He couldn't keep back his tears when he observed these shots using a quadcopter. He knew this family better than anyone else. Now there's only Blackie and the adult male left at the lake. The female and 3 young swans became a target for hunters who opened this season. Soon, the 2 disappeared from the lake as well. The family was destroyed, and the lake became deserted. While planning to make the movie, the author predicted a happy ending in advance and wanted the film charged with positive energy, but the hunters ruled otherwise. That's why the author decided to remember the swans like here, on these shots, before they were killed. He hopes the hunters will see this movie and regret it. He hopes the movie will make the world a little bit kinder. And that's not the end yet. Next year, there weren't any feathered families settling at the lake. There were no swans, no ducks. Even birds didn't stay long at that place, as if they remembered those very events. 2 years passed. Visiting the lake one more time, the author of the movie was very surprised when he saw the swan family again. This time, there were 2 adult swans and 7 chicks. 4 of them were dark, and 3 of them were light. At the same moment, he remembered that male with special genetics which can give offspring of light coloration, although swans are usually born dark or light gray. The author realized it was the same male swan that survived 2 years ago. It was decided to make a second part of the movie that you're watching right now. Females usually incubate a much smaller number of eggs, and this lady must be an experienced mom, because she gave birth to 7 chicks which she's protecting. At the sight of an unknown flying aircraft, she immediately hides the chicks among densely growing high plants. This is the way they usually hide from raptors. The interesting fact is that a new family settled down in the familiar nest. You've already seen it. The female from the first part of the movie made it 2 years ago. The author was happy with the fact he saw the buddies surrounded by such a big family. The swan family got used to the drone quickly. As the male didn't mind it, the mother of many children also stopped worrying. Observing this idyll and the family feeding on duckweed together, The author said he felt as if the 2-year-ago accident had never happened. Next to the swan's nest, there was a duck that settled down with her numerous brood. The young swans grew quickly, eating an abundance of food and enjoying the bounty of the lake. The new family also enjoyed visiting the so-called cottage, which was built by the previous couple. But this time, in fact, the male had slightly broadened the dwelling as they have more children. The ducks' babies had also grown up noticeably. Then they didn't have to fear poachers, but a new hunting season was approaching. The author realized he couldn't change anything. He only waited and hoped that for once, everything would be fine. Look at the harmony between swans and ducks. They seem to have become friends, as the ducks often visited the swan's cottage, bathing in water nearby. Autumn got closer, and one day it was noticed that 2 swans had vanished. The author became alerted because the swans were still young and couldn't fly. He used the drone to survey all around, but they left no trace. A few days later, it was clear something terrible had happened to the swans. It was hardly the work of the eagle's sharp talons, for it usually hunts alone and only has 6 swans. A month passed, and the movie director got another shock. He discovered that all of the swans at the lake had disappeared except for one. The swans vanished in the early fall, though the young individuals usually are on the wing late in the fall. It was a period of fall hunting season. Another month passed, and the same lonely swan was still on the lake. And in November, the author visited the seaside as if something was inviting him there in bad weather. He wanted to take his mind off. And the next thing happened. He saw his swans in the sea. What a surprise! He couldn't believe his eyes, but he was absolutely sure because of their coloration and the number. It was them. Unfortunately, one of them wasn't strong enough to fly away with the others. But later, the male came back to pick him up. He seemed to have known that the time was coming when his family had better keep away from that lake. He moved everyone away a month earlier. Now they are together, floating peacefully on the sea waves. And here, the story of the swan and his family ends.